Praise the Lamb, conduit to great power, promised liberator of the one who waits below. Yet, sacrificial beast, take heed, for a crown cannot sit upon two brows.
Hello, friends. Do you like Animal Crossing? Do you ever think, yeah, this is fun, but what if instead of being a cutesy little town sim, it was a bit darker? What if instead of having friendly villagers in your town, they were your devout followers instead, giving themselves to you and your God, joining your flock, building your religion, sacrificing their free will, and maybe even their lives, all for your glory and for the glory of your God? Well, then I've got a game for you. Cult of the Lamb is the latest indie hit to be published by Devolver Digital, who just never seem to miss. It's a blending of genres, taking some of the life sim elements of Animal Crossing and combining it with the randomized, procedurally generated combat arenas of roguelikes. You play as an adorable little lamb, the last of his kind after his family and people were all killed by the bishops of the old faith. The bishops worship the old gods, and fear a prophecy where a lamb will rise to power and bring about the return of the one who waits below. Things only get worse for you as your head is now on the chopping block to be killed, and just as the axe hits your neck, you wake to find yourself in the afterlife, now face to face with the one who waits below. The bound god offers a bargain. He'll return you to life, and in exchange, you will spread word of his glory, build a cult around his name, and defeat the bishops of the old faith so that he may be freed from his prison. Unable to say no, he places a red crown upon your head and returns you to the world of the living. Now, starting a cult is a bit of a tall order, isn't it? Well, fear not, as you'll get some assistance to learn the ropes from the one who waits below's previous vessel, Ratau. Despite being an old, washed-up fool, past his prime, and a failure at his duties, he'll assist you in escaping the Dark Woods, and lead you to a ruined temple that will serve as the foundation for your cult. Now it's time to find some gullible saps, true believers, to join your cause and spread your message. But where can you find followers? You can't just go to a liberal arts college and start handing out flyers. No, instead you must return to the lands of the old faith. During your travels, you'll encounter those who have lost their way. Some are like you, victims of the bishops, who were left with nothing or close to being sacrificed. Others are followers of the bishops, their bodies and minds twisted by their evil faith. Defeat them to purge the evil from their bodies, and they will pledge loyalty to your god. There's also a spider named Helob who catches and plans to eat potential followers, but we'll part with them for some coin. However you find your followers, you will now need to show them the glory of the one who waits below. At your cult site, you will now indoctrinate your new followers, learning their names, traits, changing their form to something more suitable you like, and finally giving them a shirt to mark them as a member. Now it's time for them to earn their keep, as you have them collect resources to expand your temple, along with making sure that they properly worship you, so that you can collect their devotion to grow stronger. But blind worship isn't enough. Once you've built your temple, you'll need to make sure to preach to them daily, lest they get some crazy ideas into their heads like thinking for themselves. You'll soon discover that they're also quite selfish, as they demand luxuries such as a bed to sleep on or food to eat. How ungrateful of them. You have 3 stats to maintain in order to keep your followers happy and loyal: faith, hunger, and sickness. Faith is tied to their loyalty and belief in the cult, kept high through sermons, granting their requests, letting them sleep at night, and giving them something to sleep on. Hunger is whether they have eaten recently. Despite being blessed with greatness by the one who waits below, he did not bless us with a great cooking ability, so meals will be rather meager at first, usually having a downside such as making your followers sick or poop instantly after eating. But finding the right NPC will unlock fishing, and upgrading the cult enough will allow you to plant seeds and grow your own food. Sickness ties not only to their health, but the cleanliness of your cult area. Your followers are animals. I mean, yeah, they're literally animals, but I'm referring to their manners and behaviors, as they'll vomit and crap all over the place, refusing to clean up after themselves. So like a frustrated single mother, you'll have to clean up their sick and make sure they get bed rest when they fall ill. This can make the early game tough, as you're spending more time keeping your followers in line than you are serving your god. However, things get easier as you harvest the devotion of your followers. One of the first things you'll do is build a shrine in your image that will collect devotion from any followers worshipping it. Once you've got enough, you'll be blessed with divine inspiration. Being able to upgrade your cult with amazing constructs such as shelters that don't collapse that often, a farm to grow your own food instead of scrounging around for it in the world, a medical tent to heal sick followers instead of letting them just sleep it off, or an outhouse that these animals will still end up refusing to use. These upgrades will keep the masses placated, more self-sufficient, and cause them to level up, making them more devoted and in turn create more devotion for you. Even so, dissenters can still be a problem. I must confess, as my flock grew and I began cultivating my Garden of Eden, I became blinded by my success, for I allowed a snake to slither into my perfect garden. A snake named Thornar. Thornar began to speak heresy of my god, sowing seeds of dissent into my followers. I tried to reason with Thornar, tried to bring him back to the light, but he refused to listen to reason. He refused my charity. I knew I had no choice but to remove him. However, instead of taking a knife to the head of the snake, I chose a more compassionate method. I chose to show Thornar kindness, to dispel his doubt and prove the glory of my God by offering ascension and the chance to be by my God's side forever. Unfortunately, no matter how virtuous and true your words are, there will always be those who refuse to accept the truth and allow themselves to be tempted by false gods. And like a festering, gangrenous limb, you must cut it off to stop the infection from spreading. But what can we do to ensure our flock isn't led astray? Well, that's where your temple comes in handy. Every morning should be started by delivering a sermon to your followers, reminding them of the glory of the one who waits below, and the dangers of free thinking and independence. Through sermons, you can empower yourself through their faith, unlocking more abilities, along with weapons and curses to use when fighting the forces of the old faith. However, that's just the beginning, as you can also declare doctrines for your flock to follow. Through the use of handy-dandy commandment stones, pieces of them given to you from either your followers for doing a meager request for them, or get them from the mutated followers of the bishops after defeating them. Once you get 3 pieces and put them together, you can declare a new doctrine. You'll choose between 5 different types, relating to the afterlife, sustenance, law and order, possessions, and work and worship. They're further divided into 4 tiers, each tier giving you 2 options on what doctrine to declare. For example, you can eliminate your food troubles by having your followers gain the Grass Eater trait from the Sustenance tree. This eliminates the downsides to eating grassy gruel, which would normally lower your followers' faith and have a 1 in 4 chance of making them sick. And with grass being the most common resource in game, this essentially eliminates any worry of your followers starving. Or, if you go for the Faithful trait under Work and Worship, your cultists will gain 15% more devotion, allowing for faster building unlocks and upgrading your cult faster. Doctrines can also go on to unlock rituals for you. Rituals are another way to raise the faith of your followers, along with solving problems you might encounter. The bonfire ritual will have you and your followers dance around the flames and sing Kumbaya. in order to raise their faith, or the feasting ritual, which is a quick way to satiate your followers' hunger if you have nothing to feed them. Or if a follower has outlasted their usefulness, you can use sacrifice of the flesh to kill them and take their strength for your own. While greatly beneficial, the game is quick to make sure you don't abuse rituals too much, as they're on a cooldown timer after each use, and make use of bones and other resources in order to cast, so you'll have to travel to the other realms and kill your enemies in order to use rituals. Now, your home base where your cult is located isn't the only location you can visit in the game. First, there's the 4 realms ruled by the bishops, where you'll go on crusades to defeat them, unlocking each realm one by one. While exploring those realms, you'll run into NPCs who will unlock other locations where other groups live. First is the Pilgrim's Passage, unlocked after meeting the fishermen in Darkwood. Here you can catch fish to make meals with, but also meet the Lighthouse cult, who will start worshipping you after you help them light their lighthouse, giving you another daily source of devotion. Then there's the Spore Grotto, meeting the drug-tripping spider named Sozo. He's all about the shrooms. Obsessed with it. That's all he ever talks about. Like that one friend whose entire identity is that they're a stoner and they smoke weed. Legalize it, bro. Give him enough of his precious mushrooms, and he'll teach you how to brainwash your followers. A great ritual that will lock your followers' faith to the max for 2 days, allowing you to go on longer crusades without having to go and check in on the kids. You can even visit Ratau in his little shack, where he plays a game called Knucklebones. It's a simple little dice game, where each player takes turns rolling dice, stacking them in a column, and removing the opposing player's dice anytime your number matches theirs. The goal being to fill up all 9 columns and having the higher combined score at the end. So there are quite a few things you can do, and people you can meet, outside of running your cult or fighting against the bishops. Which finally brings us to the roguelike elements of the game. Faith won't be enough to free the one who waits below. Only by defeating the bishops can the chains binding him be broken. There are 4 bishops in total, each one ruling their own realm with their own set of followers. Entering a realm, you'll be equipped with a random weapon and curse to help you on your journey. Weapons are rather basic at first, making use of a sword, dagger, axe, gauntlets, or a hammer. They aren't cosmetic though, as they do play slightly differently from each other. Daggers, for example, are weaker but hit faster and have a higher chance for critical hits, while hammers are very slow but do a lot more damage in a spread out area. As you absorb the faith of followers through sermons, you'll unlock stronger weapons with different effects, such as Bane weapons that have a chance of poisoning your enemies, vampiric weapons that have a chance to heal you, and necromantic weapons which will summon a ghost after killing an enemy that will go on to attack other enemies. Curses meanwhile work as magic spells, needing a resource called Fervor in order to cast, and usually functioning as a long-range attack, as opposed to your weapon's short-range attacks. You'll have curses that let you cast fireballs that home in on enemies, summon huge tentacles from below to attack in all directions, and much, much more. Curses are a great way to get yourself out of a bind or handle multiple enemies at once. And killing enemies will drop more fervor in order to keep your curses charged. While on your crusade, you can also unlock buffs that come in the form of tarot cards. Tarot cards are given to you by Clawneck, a friendly fortune teller you can stumble upon during your travels. They'll give you a choice of 2 tarot cards to use during your run, sometimes showing up multiple times to give you even more cards. Tarot cards can increase your health, double the resources you collect, increase your weapon's damage, increase your critical hit rate, and much more. Not all tarot cards are available right away, and can be gained from side quests for certain NPCs, or be bought from merchants, which will add them to your pool of potential buffs. And to add to the list of options when you're on your crusade, if you build a demonic summoning circle for your cult, you can temporarily turn one of your followers into a demon who can assist during your runs. They work more as another spell than an actual helper, Depending on the level of your cultist, the demon they become can randomly attack enemies, blow themselves up, or buff you with another heart. Your crusades through the realms of the bishops will feel pretty familiar if you played any other roguelike before. You'll enter a small room with enemies that need to be cleared out in order to proceed, receive a treasure chest after clearing a room, usually filled with gold, but sometimes a new tarot card or weapon to swap out to. Clear enough rooms and you'll have a choice on where to proceed in the map, similar to Slay the Spire or Inscription. Either stepping into more combat arenas, meeting NPC merchants, collecting resources, or more followers. Now you won't be able to fight a bishop during a single run. Usually they'll show up to taunt you, occasionally cast some curse on your followers, and finally empower one of their own followers for you to fight, who act as mid-bosses whose abilities are a mix of the standard enemies you've fought so far. If you end up dying during your run, it isn't as punishing as other roguelikes, as you'll still keep a good chunk of the resources you collected. You'll have to run a realm a minimum of 4 times before you can unlock the door that lets you fight a bishop. Once defeated, you'll break a chain that's binding the one who waits below, and can use the heart of the dead bishop to unlock a new crown ability. Crown abilities are extremely useful powers, such as being able to leave an arena at any time, just in case your cult is collapsing while you're gone, or being able to sacrifice a follower if you get killed during a run to get a second chance. And well, I don't know, the combat and roguelike elements feel a little too basic for me. I don't consider it bad, but it doesn't really feel like this part was all that fleshed out. For one, the combat doesn't really feel difficult, with enemy types that don't really have much strategy to them. You'll have standard cultists, flying enemies that charge into you, ones that will hop around the map trying to land on you, or ones that shoot fireballs or spew poison. But your little lamb is pretty limber, with enemies who tend to be much slower and telegraph their attacks, making it easy to dodge roll out of the way. That and all the buffs and extra abilities you'll unlock while growing your cult will trivialize most enemies. Even the mid-bosses, and to some extent the bishops, go down really fast once you've started growing your cult. Your weapons are very basic, with no extra moves or combos to them. Upgrades not feeling like upgrades exactly, more like different status effects being added to them. So you don't unlock any extra special moves for them, some type of heavy attack or combo move. Despite having different attack speeds or dealing different damage, weapons don't play too differently from each other. Hell, it's very unlikely you'll be dying at all unless you get too greedy with attacks or don't watch your health. This is in contrast with other roguelikes, like Hades for example, that tend to be extremely punishing, usually killing you before you can make it to the boss, and the boss themselves taking multiple tries as you learn their attack patterns. But that just isn't here in Cult of the Lamb. The mountain you have to climb to get better, that incredible feeling you get when you reach the top after conquering a difficult boss, just doesn't exist. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing inherently bad with the game being simpler and easier. Hey, if you just want an easier time and to focus on your adorable cult of animals, that's perfectly fine. I just felt like I was going through the motions every time I entered a realm. Sure, they get more difficult as you take out bishops, but it's very easy to trivialize that difficulty if you're managing your cult well. Hell, I had unlocked all doctrines, weapons, and curses before beating the 3rd bishop. I think maybe rebalancing certain upgrades or gatekeeping them until you beat a certain bishop would have kept the challenge fair, keeping you from getting too powerful too fast. Granted, I played the game on medium/normal. I pretty much always do for games unless I'm returning to one I've played before. But looking at the differences with the harder difficulties, I'm not so sure it changes enough, as it has you starting with less health, buffs enemy health, and lowers your chances at getting healing items and better loot and chests, along with increasing the rate your followers age, get sick, get hungry, or descent. But I still think the abilities and cult upgrades will end up nullifying those differences. That said, despite my gripes with the difficulty and the combat, I'd say my experience with Cult of the Lamb was very positive. I like the life sim elements of raising your cultists, the capacity to be evil by locking them up in prison, outright killing or sacrificing them, or feeding them poop, being able to customize their appearance when they first join, and by extension the integration it has for Twitch streamers, allowing you to make members of your chat members of your cult, letting them participate in your crusades by either helping or hindering you. I'm not a Twitch streamer, but I can see why features like that would make the experience so much fun and help you grow closer to your cult. It has a very charming art style that's a nice contrast to all the gore and occult imagery. The music is very catchy and suits their locations well, keeping crusades through realms from feeling boring. There's plenty to do outside the main goal of raising your cult, being able to take side quests for NPCs in other locations. For example, the fisherman I brought up earlier will request you to bring him certain fish. Meeting each request will net you a piece of a holy talisman. Combine 4 pieces of them and you can unlock a new fleece for your lamb. The fleece isn't just cosmetic though, as they come with varying abilities, like starting a run with 4 randomly selected tarot cards but at the cost of not being able to add more cards during a run, or one where you take twice the damage but in exchange you can stack your damage for every enemy defeated, really letting you buff your damage, making fights into more of a risk-reward system, as you lose that attack buff the second you get injured. Building your cult isn't all about how efficiently you can harvest devotion, as you can customize your temple area quite a bit. You can put up decorations to spruce up the place, move your buildings around to have it look neater, and just customize it however you like. To sum up my thoughts, Cult of the Lamb is a charming and fun game, whose mix of different genres come together to create a fun and unique experience. While its individual parts like the roguelike combat doesn't measure up to its contemporaries, I have no problem recommending the game, especially at a price tag of $25. Hey, if you're someone who's always wanted to dabble with roguelikes but were turned off by the difficulty, or having to start from scratch on death, I'd say this is a fine game to ease you into that world. With the game becoming a huge success, I'm interested to see where the devs take it next. Maybe some DLC, more customization options for your followers and cult, or some type of survival hard mode that rebalances the upgrades and unlocks to create a tougher experience. I'm excited to see this game grow and will happily return to it again in the future. And that's the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Woo, it has been a while since I've done a traditional shorter video. I've been wanting to play Cult of the Lamb since release, but was hoping they'd iron out all the bugs on the Switch version. With it being October, now felt like the right time to just go ahead and jump in, and I'm glad I did. Also, as you can see, my avatar is looking a little different this month. We'll call him Creepy Slippers. Huge thanks to Birb on creating the sprites and helping me come up with his more demonic design. I played around with a creepier voice for him, but I couldn't really come up with a voice that I could maintain through a whole review, or keep from sounding too stupid. But let me know what you think of his design. I'll be using him all month and probably bringing him back anytime I tackle horror games in the future. Still on track for at least 2 more videos this month, one smaller and another one of my usual longer ones. I have a few days off work and some extra free time this month, so might be able to squeeze in one more smaller video, but we'll see. Again, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like down below. Have you played Cult of the Lamb? What aspects of it are your favorites? Do you agree with me that the roguelike parts are a bit basic? Comment down below with your thoughts. And if you're new to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you've subscribed. I already gave my thanks in a community post, but again, thanks for helping me make that 1K sub milestone. Wasn't expecting such a huge spike in growth last month. I was tempering my expectations and figured I'd hit this goal at the end of the year, so that was a really nice surprise to see happen much earlier. I'm Creepy Slippers, and I'll see you later. Peace.